Hello, and welcome to Grade.com Talks With. Today, we're talking with Chelsea John, Manager of Entrepreneurship Programs at Dreamyard, an organization that is collaborating with Bronx youth, families, and schools to build pathways to equity and opportunity through the arts. And if you're new to our podcast, please press subscribe button either on YouTube or your podcast app, because today we're going to learn about an organization that is helping youth develop the tools to become engaged citizens, lifelong learners, and the leaders and innovators of the 21st century. Hello, Chelsea. Welcome to Grade.com Talks. It's very excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me, Kareem.
Wonderful. Could you please describe Dreamyard for someone who is not familiar with your work?
Oh, absolutely. Dreamyard is an arts and education nonprofit specifically geared towards providing high quality arts programming to specifically the Bronx community. I highlight that in particular because there are many great organizations who cater to various populations of young people. And Dreamyard has seen that there is a specialized need for arts programming in the Bronx, particularly with the cuts made to arts funding in schools. How can we be present in the community to be able to supplement that missing piece?
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's great. It's unfortunate that there was cut spending in the art programs, but it's great to see that your organization is covering that gap and offering programs directed to supporting the youth who are interested in art and empowering them. And I'm super excited to learn more in detail about the impact that Dreamyard is having on the Bronx community and youth in general. Before we deep dive, could you please describe the art scene in Bronx and whether there is a strong art presence within the Bronx community?
The Bronx historically and currently has a really robust, a really diverse artistic base, whether it be culinary artists, graffiti artists. Graffiti is very integral to Bronx culture, particularly since it's the home of hip hop. There are also phenomenal visual arts artists and fantastic poets and writers. There's often this narrative around historically speaking, with poverty in the Bronx, and that often gets to be the only picture that's painted about the Bronx. But there's so much creativity and life that exists here. There's so much thriving entrepreneurship. There's so many thriving businesses, and there's so many ways in which artists have been here to shape and shift the way the community flows, but also provides a voice to talk about just what's happening here. Especially in the pandemic, we've seen Bronx artists be at the center for providing relief and necessary understanding for what is happening in our communities, and the way for us to talk back to the world about what is going on here.
Wow, it seems like Bronx is very diverse and a culture hub for many arts and different varieties of arts. You mentioned it's a hub for hip hop. There are visual artists and so many different kinds of artists who are the advocates for the Bronx community and are shedding the light into the diversity and are bringing more attention and being representatives of the community. So it's very wonderful to see the impact and the correlation between the arts and the community itself in Bronx. Could you please tell us how can arts build a pathway to equity and opportunity, and why is it important to support youth who are interested in arts?
That is a question that always makes me excited, because oftentimes we're fighting against the thought that the arts looks a very specific way. Like you have to be an actor on Broadway, or you have to be producing movies to be an artist to become successful, when really the arts are intertwined in so much of our leading industries. There are so many smaller jobs that are as a result of the arts, and artists are often giving us the visuals and giving us the language that we use moving forward. It is so important because our young people often don't see those as viable career pathways for them. They think, especially, I'll talk about myself in particular, because I also was a young person at Dreamyard before I worked there. I didn't necessarily think that my artistry was profitable. I didn't think that, oh, you don't go to college for the arts, you don't do these next steps for the arts, what are you going to do? And then my mom, who also was an immigrant, she didn't necessarily understand the purpose of the art. She was like, no, you need to be like a doctor, a lawyer. Those are going to be fruitful career ways. And we didn't come here for you to do this. And that comes from a place of fear of, the careers that are going to be successful. And there isn't necessarily much talked about how much opportunity there is to be an artist and be successful in these other ways. There are so many ways in theater, for example, that you can be involved in the arts, both behind the scenes and in front of the camera, and operating the camera, and production, and doing marketing. Those are all things that don't necessarily seem like they have an artistic undertone, but are absolutely important things that we need to be telling our young people about. Oftentimes, they feel like these things that they're naturally gifted or talented at can't be fruitful. And when you support young people and nurture that, I think it opens them up much more to be able to dream bigger and reimagine the world. Very clearly, when we look at the climate of the world, we're not doing things all the way right? There are things that can be improved and bettered. And oftentimes the solutions are found in the creativity of young people. And when we stifle that, we stifle the possibility of us as a society moving forward. We stifle the next great idea. We stifle the next innovative train, or even how can we work more collaboratively together to achieve just a better society. So supporting young people is not only just helping young people feel more in and of themselves, more confident in the work that they're doing. It gives us very immediate feedback for, I can show up to class in these other subject areas because I am filled in these other spaces. But it is better for us as a society to be pouring into them, because I'm not going to be around forever. You're not going to be around forever, And we have to be shaping young people to be visionaries in a world that's ever changing.
Yeah, absolutely. I love your answer. You explained it very perfectly. Indeed, the image of the art careers and creative careers are very narrow in today's media, in today's people's mind. Yet there is so many different niches. There's so many different roles that still need to be filled out, and there is a huge need. And unfortunately, because people are used to think that arts and creative fields don't necessarily bring financial contribution, that's why the parents or teachers might discourage. But yet your organization is shedding the light into this atmosphere and saying that yes, you can build a career in the arts. It's not necessarily you have to be the face in the Broadway or musical, but there's so many different aspects in the production, in the staging, and so many different areas. And indeed, the individuals who work in the arts, in the creative field, they are the visionaries, and they can help us to shape the better future that is more diverse, that is more inclusive, and that is bright. Because people who with creative mind, with creative mindset, they have a vision that is different, and vision that is more optimistic, and can bring hope to the future. So it's important to communicate that, and that your organization is communicating that to the youth in Bronx, and that's wonderful. As an organization, you have programs directed through the arts, but could you please tell us more in detail about your Art Center programs?
So at the Art Center, we host it's been a while since I've counted them. The last I counted, we had 17 different arts programming. We have a kindergarten through fifth grade cohort, and they have a different set of activities that they rotate throughout the entire year, including different types of dance, like capoeira or salsa, or modernized hip hop for middle school. We have different forms of visual arts. We have theater, different types of theater classes, a DIY class, Dreaming Intentionally with Our Youth is what it stands for, where we've done cooking classes, gardening classes. For our middle school students, we have more tech immersed programs, specifically around how we fueling them as makers to be creatives. We also have dance for middle school. There is another class for middle school. Poetry for middle school. For high school, there's also poetry and creative writing. There is theater. There is a special program that happens on Thursdays, which specifically is young people coming together to find creative tech solutions and partnering with folks who are differently abled. How can we find solutions that better the quality of life of folks in our community? And that entire class is them dreaming and creating apps prototyping to create solutions for moving forward. I myself also teach an Art Center class called Action. It's a 4-year-long arts and social justice program, specifically tailored towards building leaders in our community. So this is actually going to be our 4th and last summer in this particular cohort. I've been with them since their summer after 8th grade, and now they are creating workshops, leading workshops, using their art classes to talk back to the world. We just created a podcast and a poster series where we took some of our ideas and figured out how we wanted to share them with the community and how do we want to have engage the community in conversation. We did a fashion line with our fashion class, so we worked collaboratively across class lines. We have a music production class. I feel like there's so many more classes that I'm missing. We do have an entrepreneurship class. We also have a media production class as well. And their classes are ever evolving, and we do one-off workshops as well, but there's just so much. Oh, we have also a gaming department. So we're diving into gaming and how can gaming be used as a pathway as well, but also how can we get our parents to understand that gaming isn't just this thing that your child is disconnected from, that it's a really viable pathway. And often, how can we shift these pathways to be more inclusive of the narratives of people that it serves? We often talk about, I don't see representation there. And that's exactly why you need young people doing these arts programs, because they are the representation and they can shift and change these industries to be more reflective of the whole of society that it serves. And that's the tip. I feel like I'm missing 1 or 2 classes, but that should be the gist of the classes.
You indeed have quite a diverse range of classes, but what I really like your in terms of you not only offer traditional dance and art classes, but you also incorporate the art classes with tech. You incorporate classes with social activism, and that's very important to see that you are building indeed the innovators, the leaders of tomorrow. So it's great to see that. But I want to deep dive a little more about the art program that you yourself, Chelsea, run. And you mentioned it's a 4-year program. Could you please describe some of the stories of your students and what impact did this class have on their lives?
Oh, absolutely. I am actually an alum of the program. So many, many years ago, I was a student at part of the 4-year program along with my co-teacher. So we both were in the same cohort. And now we teach this current cohort of young people. But it's just been really wonderful. We also focus on college and career prep. So this summer, we'll be solidifying our college choices for all of our young people, giving them one-on-one tutoring to get them up to par, doing SAT prep as well. We will be finalizing our college essays this summer, because in the fall, when we come back, we'll be full-fledged applying and creating our graduation portfolios. So just a reflection of the body of work that they've done over the course of the 4 years, which hopefully will also feed into their just regular portfolio that they can share with colleges as well. We have traveled. The pandemic obviously put a break on a lot of our travel, but a part of the program is that every summer we take young people on a week-long excursion somewhere where we visit a college, partner with another youth organization that is doing similar work as them, and work together over the course of the summer to develop whatever their final project is, and how both groups of young people want to work with community and share with community. So it's really essential for developing so many skills like public speaking, or the different range of writing skills, professionalism when interacting with other companies and businesses. So we just finished a lesson on how do you send emails? What is the actual physical structure? Because we realized that although our young people were really excellent at communicating their ideas and thoughts, they lacked the structure for how to do the thing. And part of that is also, how do we teach them to be self-advocates? So a big part of our class is, how do you advocate for yourself in spaces where you are not necessarily comfortable, or spaces that are new to you, and you are sure, like, this is what I want to do, this is where I want to be, right? You also always want to be able to maximize your voice and find ways to utilize your resources so that you can support you, but also support someone else as well. And that's just been a really beautiful dream to do. It's been wonderful watching them grow, like emotionally watching them grow as leaders who went from class the first summer being like, I don't know anything, to like, no, it's about building the confidence to say what you know and stand in like your belief and your feelings. And also, how do you really pour into your idea and pour into yourself and chase that? So it's going to be sad to watch them graduate. But I'm very excited to go to all the graduations and see them off. But yeah, that's just been a wonderful time. And much of that work has fueled the department that I run now, which is entrepreneurship. But they were a really beautiful set of young people to both listen to what they wanted to learn, because that class is also interdisciplinary. So we don't just teach one art type in that class. We teach poetry, we teach theater, creative writing, digital media, and graphic design.
Mhm. Wow. I can see how passionate you are about your students and the journey that they had with you and with the Dreamyard throughout the 4 year curriculum, and the fact that they throughout the curriculum they are able to build a portfolio that can they further present it in their college application or the other career or other directions that they choose to go in. But also it's great to see that you are building their self-esteem, their self-confidence, so they can go and defend themselves in any venue possible and be their self-advocates. It's great to see their development from being, you mentioned, a shy student, a student that didn't really know what journey they might take, but by the end of the program, they are capable in their skill. They are very confident and they are ready to rock the world. So it's great to see that. This May, you had the Dreamfest. Could you please tell us more about this festival?
Yes, Dreamfest is this phenomenal opportunity that we have to run about 2 weeks of what previously we called sharings, which are still sharings, but how we share the work that is happening in all of our Dreamyard departments. So we work with in-school programs, which is where we have the arts programs that we take into schools with partnership with them to work with a teacher during a particular set of time to still provide arts programming in school. Then we have our out of school program, our arts center programs, and also our various other departments like our internship department, working with our office managers, our development folks to put together this beautiful festival celebrating the work that young people are doing. And also showcasing it in a very professional way to show you are doing high quality arts and it deserves to be displayed in that way. And also the Bronx community should have access to seeing the work that's happening around them. But also, how can we curate it as a space to share about other artists and the work that artists are doing? So we often also use that space to share about the teachers who are teaching these programs, because all of our teaching artists are also artists. So I myself teach, but I'm also a graphic designer and a digital artist and a poet. So there's no one who works at Dreamyard who doesn't have some kind of special interest that they also bring to the table. And that's really what makes it beautiful, is because you have artists teaching the next generation of artists. Dreamfest previously, before this, was a little bit bigger and held a in-person community portion where we had a free festival that happened outside where folks got to come. They got to, sorry, the city is alive. New York City is alive, and sometimes you can hear it. But previously, before this, they would come to an in-person final festival sharing that was free to the public. We had food vendors, local Bronx businesses as vendors, performances. We would have a short film showing of all the films that were being created in our student programs. And it was just a really great way to celebrate community. Folks could get their face painted, be in the bouncy house, learn about other partner organizations in the Bronx, other programs that are happening around us in the summer. Because also this work doesn't just happen without, like, it doesn't happen with just Dreamyard. And there's so many other Bronx partners who are doing fantastic work across the Bronx that help us achieve what we're trying to do and help us expand the scope. So it's really a celebration of Bronx culture and Bronx life. And it's just a pleasure to join in curating that space every year.
Yeah, it sure seems like a celebration to me as well, that bringing the attention to the work of the young artists as well as the teachers. It's great to see that you are providing a platform for them to get more attention, that deserved attention, because you mentioned the quality of art that being produced is very high, and it's a representation of how artistic and how futuristic is the Bronx community is. And it's great to celebrate and bringing all the Bronx businesses and Bronx community together to celebrate the wonderful work the youth artists and the teachers are doing within the artistic community in Bronx. If someone would like to support Dreamyard, how can they do so?
They can support Dreamyard by going to our website, which is dreamyard.com. There are different ways to contribute. We also accept in-kind donations. So if you have supplies or opportunities that you would like to support us in programming through, you can also reach out to us that way and get in contact with our development department. You can donate time as well. So if you're in the area and you want to volunteer time, or if you're remote and you want to figure out how can I share information about what's happening, that's another viable way to support and join in the mission and supporting the mission. There's also things that are always happening on social media, even just joining us and participating in community discussions or online film screenings, talk back to the community. Those are also ways that you can support the work. So there's so many ways, but if you're looking for the hot spot, dreamyard.com or Dreamyard on Instagram, you can find us and find out more ways to join and support us.
Wonderful. The link to the Dreamyard's website will be provided in the description. So you viewing and listening can go to the website and familiarize yourself with the wonderful work Chelsea and the team at Dreamyard is doing and support their mission. Thank you so much, Chelsea. It was wonderful to get to know you and the very colorful and artistic work that your organization does for the Bronx community.
Yes, thank you so much for having us. We are so appreciative of you curating the space for us.
Wonderful. For you listening, if you enjoyed this conversation, please press like and share button because this will show the YouTube and podcast algorithm that this conversation is important, that we need to support youth who are interested in arts. Thank you and see you in the next episode.